The topic I will be presenting today, and that I have researched all semester, was about one size does not fit all. What does that mean? It means that our educational system is taught through the entire U.S. but does not work for every student and for every school. Well, why doesn't the one size fit all work? Hasn't it worked for the last 100 years? Hasn't that been the way that our grandparents and great-grandparents have learned? They seem pretty great. I will argue that the United States educational system, one size fits all, needs to change and evolve just as the world changes and evolves, because first, students learn differently now than they did decades ago. Second, research is showing that there are 7 different learning styles, not just one. And third, a student-centered educational system can change how much a student can go from hating school to how much they love school and actually understand it. We'll start with the first one. The generation now learns way differently than our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. As we look at these two pictures, there is no difference. Sure, one is in black and white and one is in color. But there's no difference in the classroom. You can see the traditional teacher in the front of the classroom teaching kids all the same way, and students using all the same material and books to further their knowledge. Sure, the books have probably changed since many years ago, but we're still learning out of books, and teachers are still teaching the same way. They all look like they're studying the same way, but we all know that their brains do not work the same way. Not every student can do the same worksheet and get the same information out of it. Why hasn't the world changed Why hasn't the classroom changed just as the world has? Students today are much different than students years ago, which goes without saying that we need better methods to truly help this generation of students succeed. Today, we need more students achieving at higher levels to ensure a more equitable and prosperous future for our communities. Haven't thought about the future? Well, the way we teach students will determine how well they do in the future. What will the world look like in 100 years? And what did we do as teachers and faculty to influence the future? Sure, transportation years ago and decades ago has turned from horses and chariots to electric cars that you can plug into the wall and don't make any sound. Telephones decades ago have gone from bricks that hang on the wall and you can only call from, whereas now we basically have the ability to access the whole internet on our smartphones that fit in our back pockets. These inventions were made to make the world better. Classrooms decades ago have not changed. The world around the classroom is evolving, so now it is time for the classroom to catch up. Now it is time for the classroom to change for the better of the world. And now we'll go to the second one. Research has shown that there are 7 ways students learn today. Imagine how hectic and crowded it would be to try and fit 7 populations into one country. 7 different populations into one country. There'd be no room, and no one would be taken care of well or individually. It would be almost as if you were assigned a number and that number went through a system. Is education kind of doing the same thing? The educational system in the United States has been forcing many different learning styles into one system, almost as if forcing 7 different countries into one country. We all go through school with the same system, and just as the person next to us, we are just a number that graduates. Yay. We're just another student that comes back as an alumni. We are always taught that we are unique and special. Where did that go? Research really has shown that there are several different ways that people learn, yet we all learn the same way. People have the ability to learn so much better, but they aren't getting straight A's because maybe that's not the way that they learn, but it's the way we're teaching. Research does show that everyone fits into at least one of the following learning styles. But what are they? Number 1, oral learning, where students learn best through music and sound. Verbal learning, where students learn best through speech and writing. Number 3, physical learning, where students do best using a hands-on approach. Visual learning, where students learn best from pictures and images. Logical learning, where students learn best through logic and reasoning, such as math. Solitary learning, where students do best through self-paced studying. And last but not least, social learning, where students do best in group activities. Why are they forcing us to learn the same way? For some reason, we think it is tradition for the teacher to stand at the front of the classroom and teach a topic, but really only 1 out of 7 of those students will comprehend it well. How does everyone learn the same way and still be expected to do just as well as the person sitting next to them? Maybe tradition needs to be changed for the better of the classroom. Number 3, a system where learning is centered around the students would really change the students' experience in school. Now, imagine yourself waking up almost every morning actually loving to go to school because you are learning something that you like and the way you like to learn. And it's all focused on you. Sure, sounds a little selfish, but there are some people not learning at all. So maybe it's time to be a little selfish. Now we can all look back on how many times you may have acted like you were sick or begged your parents to let you stay home. Just so you know, you're not the only one. Every parent always worries about if the child is going to do well in school, hopefully not get bullied, and be successful altogether, maybe even pay for the retirement if the parents can't. A good example is of Holly Robinson wrote, her son would hide or pretend to be sick. Once I left him in the minivan while I chatted with other parents. By the time the school bus arrived, he locked me out of the car. I was afraid my son's misery in school would cause him to lose interest in learning altogether. School should not be scary. It should be a good place where you get to learn and grow and maybe figure out what you're going to do with your life. Eventually, Holly, his mom, and the writer found a school where it was better for her child because he felt like he wanted to go to school instead of his mom making him. I think we've all gone through that where we don't want to go to school, but our parents make us. There are so many different situations that every day when students don't want to go to school, but a student-centered curriculum will help students have the desire and not make the parents worry so much. Valerie Stratis, a writer for the Washington Post, wrote an article about Lily Howard Scott, who is an educator. Valerie wrote what Lily said. She said she believes that the most meaningful learning occurs when students are feeling more adapted into it. Meaningful learning happens when teachers design and adapt curricula to meet the needs, strengths, and interests of their students. When students feel safe or loved by their teachers, they tend to want to go to class, and they get more out of it. Students learn the best when it is student-centered and they enjoy doing it because it's for them and not for someone else. To have programs that adapt to parents, students, and teachers would make everyone happier. Now to the counter-argument. Sure, not everyone agrees that this is a bad thing, but as you can see, number 1, theoretically, no student gets left out because they're going through the same curriculum. Second, it costs less to have one teacher in front of 30 students instead of one teacher in front of a few students. And lastly, it helps students toughen up for challenges in life. Even after all these things, caring for students and the future has exponential importance for everyone. Now you might be wondering why I chose to do this presentation to Ann F. Anderson. She's the director of Nebo School District. I think it would make a difference if she was able to make this difference in our community, and if it is successful, other communities will use it as well. Thank you for listening, and here's my reference page.